Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Pacific Club members. Welcome to guests. My name is Joe Stapleton. It's a pleasure to be your host this morning. This is our Distinguished Speaker Series for October 2020. I am filling in for the great Bob Mosier. I tried to put on a bow tie to match him, but I don't know how to tie a bow tie, so I was unfortunate not able to do that. Maybe it's an Arizona U of A versus ASU thing, but wasn't successful in that. But thank you, Bob, for giving me the floor and the chance to host this morning. So it's a pleasure to have all of you with us. We're so excited to have our state assembly candidate, Diane Dixon, a very close friend of mine and a close friend of most of yours as well. She's a fellow Pacific Club member. She's a current Newport Beach City Council member and a former two-time mayor of our great city of Newport Beach. So we're so fortunate to have Diane with us and our very own Mayor, Will O'Neill. And today is his birthday, so I'll join everyone in welcoming, congrats and happy birthday to Mayor O'Neill. Before we get started, I want to keep this pretty casual this morning. I think we've got about, we've got a good number of people with us, but this is a regular Zoom meeting, so you can raise your hand, you can interrupt, you can ask questions. Diane's going to open up with formal remarks and after Will introduces her, but there's a Q&A feature at the bottom. There's also a chat feature. I will be monitoring both, but if you have any questions, I'll be looking at your screens. So feel free to raise your hand and we can have a fun back and forth with Diane this morning. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Will O'Neill. Again, birthday boy, Mayor Will O'Neill. What a year to be mayor, 2020. There's certainly no playbook for this. It's, in a pandemic year, Will has not had the pleasure to go back to his previous mayors and say, hey, what do you do in the event something like COVID hits and completely destroys the economy in the city and the well-being of some of our residents? So we're fortunate to have Will in the seat. He's been a beacon of hope for all of us here in the city of Newport Beach. He is a fellow Pacific Club member. He is a regular in Marie's class on Tuesday mornings at 6:30 when we are alive and well and back to normal. I just recommend when you're upstairs in the gym, if you see him on a Peloton, just stay clear. Will is an absolute beast on the Peloton. I think he owns all of the club records on the Peloton, so it's best just to stay clear. This is the year of the volunteer, so I'm really proud of Will and what he's been able to do. He's celebrating those that are giving back. He's an undergrad from Stanford. He lettered in track while he was there. He's got a law degree from Hastings. Will's a partner in a local law firm. And with everything going on and being mayor, he somehow finds time to be an incredible father, an incredible husband. His two kids, Aubrey and Sean, and his beautiful wife, Jenny. So Newport's a better place because of Will and Diane. So please join me in a warm Pacifica welcome to Mayor Will O'Neill.
Well, I will say right off the bat, it is a real pleasure to get such a glowing introduction from Newport Beach's Citizen of the Year. And if you have forgotten that, I'm going to remind you again, Joe Stapleton, Citizen of the Year. So thank you. This has been obviously an interesting year. The most recent, why else would we have a presidential visit but for the fact that it's 2020? And so I will say real quickly, I know some of our members were there. A lot of you were paying attention. I'll just say our police department, our fire department, and all the other agencies that were part of it did a fantastic job. And that is one of the things that Newport Beach has really prided itself on this year has been its commitment to public safety and the commitment to professionalism, commitment to making sure that we are, just need to turn my phone off. We need to make sure that we are, really taking advantage of all of the wealth of resources that we have here in Newport Beach to make sure that we are taking care of exactly what people expect us to, which is core services, roads, streets, making sure that our police and our fire and our lifeguards, they all have what they need to have. And Diane Dixon has been at the forefront of that. For the last 6 years, she's been serving on the city council in the city of Newport Beach. And 2 of those, she was mayor. And we have seen a steady decline in our overall crime rates during that time when a lot of other cities just haven't seen that same hold true. And especially in a year like this where you're seeing state policy putting more and more criminals out into the streets, out of prison, not even accepting new prisoners in large respects, and then emptying out the jails. You hear from our police department saying, we know that there is a higher quantity of criminal and a lower quality of criminal in our streets, and they're still doing a great job. And that's a testament to leadership of the city, and also listening to people who care a lot about our community. And trust me, in Newport Beach, they have no problem telling us when they think we haven't quite done things exactly right. And Diane has been so accessible, and she'll continue to be accessible in Sacramento. I've been pushing her for a while to go run for the assembly. I was really excited when she decided to jump in. because the same leadership skills that you understand a lot better how to serve in Sacramento when you have been at the local level, when you actually understand what your policy decisions are going to do to decisions on the ground. Because the truth of the matter is, I've lived in Fresno, I've lived in San Francisco, I've lived in Newport Beach, and treating all three of those areas the same, boy, you better have really good reasons to do that. And so I'm really pleased and honored to have endorsed Diane for the assembly. I'm looking forward to November 3rd. I'm looking forward to finding out that she's won this thing. And I'm looking forward to calling her Assemblywoman Diane Dixon. So with that, I'm going to kick it off right over to Diane so she can explain all the reasons that she's going to win and what the campaign is like. Diane, that's all yours.
Well, thank you, Will. Happy birthday, Will. Happy birthday, Mayor. And it's just a pleasure to have and an honor to have you introduce me. And it's been a great partnership, you and I and our council colleagues, to do really what's best for Newport Beach. And that's what we are motivated to do at all time, what is best for Newport Beach. And we are all very proud of our city. So let me just give my little introduction. I'm delighted to be here with my friends and familiar faces of the Pacific Club and as a fellow member, and I'm honored to be part of the Distinguished Speakers Series. Once again, I spoke a couple of years ago when I was mayor. I want to thank Bob Mosier and the Distinguished Speaking Series. So adding me into your agenda, and the Zoom agenda makes it really easy. So I'm delighted I could do this. So let me just dive right in. 13 more days. What's going to happen in 13 more days? There's just a lot going to happen nationally and locally, of course. And let me just talk about what's going to happen locally. Let me tell you, to kind of make the case for why I am running. And it wasn't like a lifelong dream. I have the best job. Will and I and our colleagues have the best job in the world, serving the people of Newport Beach on the Newport Beach City Council. Why would anyone want to leave Newport Beach and go to Sacramento? Well, let me tell you why. Someone has to do it. Right now, our state and our assembly seat, Assembly District 74, need new leadership as we are faced right now with unprecedented challenges. And I've been a fierce advocate for our residents and our business owners in Newport Beach since I was first elected to the City Council in 2014, and I've served as mayor twice, as you heard. And now with my colleagues on the council managing through this COVID crisis. And I don't shy away from tough decisions, and that I know what is best, that I know are best for our residents and our business owners. And I am running for one reason, as the mayor alluded to take back our cities and work hard to return to a two-party legislative system. I have witnessed firsthand the draconian, and yes, I will use the word draconian because in my opinion it is true, power grab by a one-party supermajority in Sacramento that has unchecked power and authority that is literally before our very eyes, with nearly every bill that is signed into law, stripping powers away from local government, from all cities, not just Newport Beach. And I see this power shift come to fruition in black and white and code changes that cities are required to address, and requires votes of local government to codify what Sacramento has mandated that we do. Some of them are obscure, but a lot of it related to land use decisions, zoning decisions, public safety, education, touching every life in California. And when people, and I'll get into more why this election is so important for a lot of reasons, but a lot of people say, yes, we've got to focus on Congress. Our quality of life, our business individual, the success of our businesses, our small businesses, the resident quality of life, it depends exclusively on what happens in Sacramento, and more so than ever before, because Sacramento is making the rules that affect our city, and how we on a city council manage our city the rulemaking is coming from Sacramento. And a long list of powers and local authorities that have been embedded in our city charters and by the Sacramento legislature since we became a state are being eroded. And so, I decided somebody had to do something about this. It's insidious. When I talk to just general people in meet and greets, I don't get into this level of detail, but all of you are certainly knowledgeable about our local government and as business people and concerned citizens. It's insidious. And I would not have, and I follow things pretty closely at the local level, obviously, but I really wouldn't have noticed all this power shift unless I was a city council person. And so we're just dealing with it right now. And Will, as mayor, is dealing with an extraordinary burden that all cities face, especially coastal cities in this coastal district. Let me just tell you a minute what those cities are. It's Laguna Beach, Laguna Woods, formerly Leisure World up there, a wonderful community, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa up to the freeway, and Huntington Beach up to the harbor and to the freeway, and most of Irvine and Newport Beach. Every city is affected, but the housing requirements, affordable housing requirements, the governor has mandated through executive order that can't be challenged. I mean, we are appealing it as a city. I won't get into all that. Will's managing that quite capably, but cities really don't have a choice. This is it. City of Newport Beach, you have to find room to build 4,800 new housing units, and Costa Mesa, I think, is 11,000. Huntington Beach is 19,000. This is extraordinary for cities that are already built out, but these are rules, these are mandates coming from Sacramento, and this is what we are dealing with. All right, so why am I going, and what am I going to do when I get to Sacramento? My number one priority is COVID recovery. We really do have to get out of this lockdown situation. Our numbers are improving. The governor does change the goalpost every couple of weeks when the Orange County thinks we're going to move into a more open tier. The governor says, well, not yet, not quite yet. We've got to make sure that every underserved area, lower economic region is operating with the same health statistics and hospitalization and positivity statistics. We do want all parts of our county to be healthy and to recover and from the COVID. Yes, of course, but we also have to get our businesses open. I don't know, I'm sure all of you saw Disneyland, thought it was going to be opening, and now it's going to be more weeks and more field goalposts moving to extend it out. It's not just simply Disneyland, and all the people want to go to Disneyland, which is important for the local economy, not just in Anaheim, but all of Orange County. It's the ancillary businesses that depend on Disneyland, from hotels to restaurants to services that drive the Orange County economy, that is just held hostage by the governor, who refuses to open Disneyland or allow Disneyland to be open. It is a single governor dictatorial decision. Disney World in Florida is open, but Disneyland isn't. So my number one priority is to help get our businesses back, help a business safely and responsibly, absolutely, and get our state moving again. And get our people, the poor people, literally poor employees, workers, small business people who are suffering, and help them with the right kind of recovery mechanisms that we need to do to help small business. Speaking about business, I am a business advocate. I worked for my entire career for a wonderful Fortune 300 company, Avery Dennison. And I learned so much about business and being successful in a manufacturing business, its efficiency, the lowest cost for the quality product. And that has informed that's in my mental DNA about looking for returning value wherever I see it to create it. And that means not just to business, but to the taxpayer. My opponent could not define herself as pro-business. The National Association of Independent Business Owners gives her a 20% rating, meaning that she voted with them 20% of the time. The State Chamber of Commerce, the California Chamber, gives her a D-. So she does not vote for business. She does not represent business. This was another reason why I decided to run. She's not an advocate for business, and it's a problem. Her most flagrant anti-business action was to vote yes on AB 5, which made everyone who's an independent contractor an outlaw, and she voted yes all the way through the legislative process. And then several months ago, before the close of the session, when there was a bill to put forth to repeal AB 5, she voted no, or did not vote, I guess it was. She just abstained. She's abstained 190 times. We pay her to represent us. She has not voted 190 times. Why? Because she's getting orders not to risk a vote that would be pro-business or pro law enforcement, for example. Also, back to my priorities, opening our schools. This has just been such a frustration and such a concern. It's not just the schools, it's the kids. And they're missing almost a year. We're in what, the 8th month of schools lockdown. It's just tragic. And the workaround to it is just not happening school district by school district. It's just tragic what's happening to kids in our communities. I am for, because I'm pro-business, I'm pro-competition wherever it can exist, and competition in education is absolutely critical. And the supermajority is against charter schools and finding every different way to defund charter schools and make it difficult for charter schools to operate and to be funded, because charter schools receives public funds. And so it's competition to the teachers union. So I want to get those schools open. I want to get our kids in school. We all know children, our own children, grandchildren who are not in school, and from not only education, but at their physical, mental health reasons. And it's very sad. Protecting taxpayers, obviously that would be one of my number one priority. It just goes without saying to protect taxpayers and be opposed to taxation of all forms. But my opponent has not opposed Proposition 15. She's not endorsed the existence of Proposition 13. And I'm very honored to have received the endorsement of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. And that's really key. That really says that Diane Dixon cares about business, cares about residents, cares about taxpayers. And just as a word to the wise, I'm sure you're all briefed on Proposition 15, which would undo the commercial side of the split roll. Don't believe what you hear from the other side. Residential property would come next. So once they have it on commercial, they will unwrap and undo Prop 13 for the residential property owners. I would also work with my assembly colleagues to repeal AB 5. It's a crazy law. There are like 220 exemptions. Nobody understands it. You have to, these individual independent workers have to hire a lawyer just to figure out if they're covered or not, from a barber to a nail polish, manicurist to a healthcare worker, and of course to an Uber and Lyft driver. So vote yes on Proposition 22 to help protect that part of the gig economy. Because if that wins, there's so much money going against that, for and against it. If that prevails to exclude Uber and Lyft drivers from AB 5, maybe that will be the beginning of the end of AB 5. That will send a powerful message to Sacramento. And so public safety, let me just talk a little bit. The mayor mentioned the 17,000 prisoners who have been released, ostensibly because of COVID, but it's been a steady stream since 2011, where laws have been passed to shorten prison sentences, reduce parole, send prisoners from the state prisons down to the counties, and then the counties jails are overcrowded and it's just a revolving door. Someone goes in with a county jail sentence of a year and they're out in 2 weeks. It is horrendous. And thank goodness for our great police systems. Irvine has a great police department. Newport Beach has a great police department. Huntington Beach, I think, all of our cities do. We have our communities support our police. And that's what I intend to do when I'm in Sacramento. Having been married 45 years to a career prosecutor, my husband Pat was head of major crimes in Los Angeles for 37 years and major operations and all the major homicides that occurred in Los Angeles over that time. He was responsible, never lost a case. Now he's special counsel to Todd Spitzer. So public safety is our dinner table conversation, and making sure that our law enforcement is doing the right thing and our laws are protecting our families and our communities and our neighborhoods, and protecting the victims. We have an inverse situation now coming out of the Sacramento, is it's more about the criminal, not the victims, reducing bail. So that's a ballot measure also, no bail. I mean, that's just crazy. New York, the state of New York, got rid of their bail requirements, and the recidivism is like within days. People are out on the street, they come back. They're out on the street, come back, committing crimes. So this is craziness. I want to bring some common sense. So public safety, I will say one other example about my opponent, probably the worst bill that became law that Governor Newsom signed. You may have heard about it, is SB 145. And it's just very simply, if a sexual predator assaults the victim and they're within 10 years of age of one another. In other words, if there's a 24-year-old assaults a 14-year-old, that sexual predator this is law, will no longer need to be registered as a sex offender if there's less than a 10-year age difference. And my opponent did not vote. She was on the floor. She did not cast a vote. It was an easy no vote to protect children in our community. That is now law. People really haven't focused on that. And I could be happy to have another legislative review discussion on another time, because the new laws that were signed into law in September and October by the governor are radical, frankly, in terms of education curriculum, the sexual predator law, allowing juveniles. This bill didn't get signed, but it was very close. It'll come back. Allowing juveniles to be considered juveniles up to age 24. And you know what I only know this because my husband's a prosecutor. What that means is that gang members can put forward a juvenile up to age 24 to do the major criminal activity and only be treated as a juvenile, and then their prison sentence is minuscule, much less. And so it's all about making it life good for criminals, and that's not what I believe in. So there's a lot of work to be done to represent common sense and pragmatism in Sacramento. So police reform with defunding the police didn't make it out of about 15 bills. They will come back. They had a crush of a lot of things going on in the last minutes, but they're going to come back. Just a quick update. I've been endorsed, as I mentioned, I've been endorsed by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, the Orange County Register, the Newport Beach Police Officers Association, the State Deputy District Attorneys Association, and a long list of electeds. And State Senator Morlock and Supervisor Michelle Steele and I are all working together here to get ourselves elected and to help each other. So let me just sum up. The reason why I'm running is one party rule is wrecking our Golden State. I want to return us back to what we all know as the Golden State of California. We have these wildfires because of policy that said don't clean the underbrush, let it all dry out. And we have conflagrations, as we all know. We have forced shutdowns because of COVID. We have power shutdowns. We have brown days because we're not adding the necessary funds for capital investment in our existing power grid structure. And so they don't have enough power, and we're relying exclusively on solar energy in some areas, and then we have no power. This is just absolute craziness. I think they all realize this experimentation with some of these radical policies is not good for stimulating economic growth and keeping people working and living a quality of life in California. I want to work hard to get the California Golden State back on track and bring common sense representation to Sacramento. So as I said, I will work from the front and work across the aisle. I have a business mentality to solve a problem. There's a solution for something everywhere. I could work to solve problems. I'm committed to representing the wishes and the beliefs and the pro-business, the pro-resident belief of our community and this district, which is so desperately lacking. And I'm not promising I'm going to go to Sacramento. We all know a supermajority is almost insurmountable, but we have to start now. That is why I'm running, because Will wouldn't run. I am running. And somebody has to run to represent our point of view, and we have to stop this bullet train of irresponsibility in Sacramento, one seat at a time. Let me just quickly get to the update on polling that we did several weeks ago. Show that if I get all the Republicans, which I hope to do, plus I need about 7,000 or 8,000 independent voters, because Republicans have about 30% slight edge over the Democrats with a little less than 30% in the independents. So it's 30-30-30 for all intents and purposes, how the registration breaks down. So Republicans alone can't win. I need independents, and I've been walking independent districts all over the district, all the cities with independent voters, And I knock on the door with my face mask and stand 6 feet back. And I start my little spiel with my little brochure. And they go, "Oh, Diane Dixon, we're voting for you. We're voting for you. We're voting for you." So my message resonates with independent voters, the pro-business, pro-educational choice, pro-public safety. Independent voters don't want riots and craziness that they see coming out of Sacramento. So I'm very confident. That's kind of my informal survey of the reaction I'm getting. I've knocked on over 200 doors, and that's what I'm getting across the district. People are very much concerned of what's coming out of Sacramento. So I want to go work across the aisle, solve some solutions, get some solutions instead of everything being far left off the cliff. Bring a little bit more, get an amendment here, a few word changes here to protect our residents, our homeowners, our businesses, and just have a voice for common sense, because honestly, there is not a voice for common sense other than Senator Morlock and a few others. There are 17 Republican assembly people in Sacramento, and I have to add to those numbers. And my number one job, in addition to making common sense happen, is to recruit other Republicans, common sense Republicans, who can win in their respective. We've got to get more Republicans. We need 25 to break the supermajority, and I think we can do it. We'll get this race, and then in 2 more years, we'll be out recruiting more Republicans. So I want to thank you for caring about this race. And I'll say my leave behind message, call to action is make sure everyone you know votes. Votes, votes, votes. And any independent, non-party preference person you know, get them to vote. Vote Republican. We have to take these seats back. And I'll just give a plug for Michelle Steele and John Morlock. We must take these seats back. Now's our time. There are going to be a lot of Republicans voting, and have confidence in voting. We are hearing that Republicans are confused about what to do with their ballot. Tell everybody, this is what I did. I voted in the Registrar of Voters yellow bin boxes that are everywhere, and they're here in Newport Beach. They're at our Civic Center. They're at our old post office, or our post office on Riverside Drive. All the cities have these big Registrar of Voters yellow receptacles. I told somebody this morning, I put both my ballots in the box, and they go, "You voted twice." Some people have gotten 2 ballots, but my husband and I put our ballots in the box this morning. And if you could put it in the post office box, that's okay too. Just vote early and get it in there. And the system is reliable. I trust it, and you could track your ballot. Just get people to vote, vote, vote. So that's my message. I'm sticking to it, and I'd be delighted to answer any questions you might have.
That was terrific, Diane, and certainly can be depressing at times when you really think about what's going on up in Sacramento. So, on behalf of all of us here at Pacific Club, we wish you all the best luck, obviously, and we'll continue the good fight for the next 13 days to make sure you're in that seat. When we talk about, you've ran 2 successful elections in City Council, what is the biggest difference when you look at a City Council race to something like Assembly, and what is something that's been unexpected to you? Certainly got to raise more money, got to knock on more doors.
Yeah.
But,
couple of things. That's a good question. The City Council is nonpartisan, so you really don't lead with your partisan politics in Newport Beach or in any city. But you could talk about Republican principles of lean and mean, and keep the budget small, and fiscal responsibility and transparency and listening to people, which are skill sets that I will take with me to Sacramento. So leading with the party and talking to independents, and in this particular situation we are in now, where the Republican Party in Orange County used to have the dominant majority, and that's not true. But the message that of fiscal responsibility and listening to people and common sense and doing the right thing, that was kind of my motto, and it is still at City Council, is do the right thing for the people and for our business owners. That's still the same. The principles being grounded on fundamental principles, whether it's City Council or whether it's in state or beyond, that's what I'm very comfortable operating in that realm of just being true to my principles.
Yeah, so terrific. Dave Everett is in. For any of you guys on the Zoom, if you guys want to ask any questions, just throw it up in the chat feature and I'll ask Diane. Dave Everett asked, can you discuss how the Democrats mismanaged the economy so bad that we had to make a deep cut into our education budget? Dems cut $1 billion from college and shifted $6 billion away from K through 12. Now that they realize there's not going to be a CARES Act bill, and Trump's not going to, bail them out to make another $14 billion. The state's going to essentially have to make another $14 billion in cuts or increase taxes, and that's just for this year. So most of the cuts they shifted to next year's budget. Republicans need to sound the alarm.
Yeah.
Dave says, in his opinion, obviously, we need to do a better job educating people on what's happening in education in California.
Well, first of all, I mean, just to point out, I was just looking for some notes. I heard this. I was at a meeting with Dan Walters, who used to write with the Sacramento Bee. He said that there are over 300 ballot measures in cities across California to increase taxes. So when we have a $54 million budget deficit, and so when they passed this budget, it was really the legislature and the governor signed the budget. It was really a fool's errand because they knew the money wasn't there, but they were just hoping that the federal government would bail them out. Obviously, that hasn't happened, and I don't expect it to happen. And so government, Sacramento, they don't have a sense of containment. It's just spend, tax more, tax more, tax more. That's why they need Prop 15 to go after businesses to get more property tax revenue and just get the revenues there. In fact, I saw a news clip the other day in Los Angeles. The United Teachers of Los Angeles were saying, pass Prop 15 so we could get our teachers raises. And already the average teacher salary in Los Angeles is like $90,000 a year. So there needs to be some belt tightening in Sacramento with a budget deficit that size, but you could be sure there'll be more tax proposals. In fact, there were 2 income tax proposals. I'm sure you heard about it, and my opponent voted yes on both of them, but they didn't get it through. But one is to tax all your assets. I mean, that's never been done anywhere before. And also, if you're no longer a resident of California, a lot of people are leaving, they want to claw back 10 years of income based on your prior residency in California. So they're crazy tax measures that are coming: global tax, asset class, increase income tax. And the legislature in Sacramento has no concept of the effect, that trickle-down effect. Who pays those taxes? And businesses and consumer goods are more expensive, whether it's income tax or business taxes. So a long answer to that question is tough choices have to be made. And frankly, and this is really a sad part of California, is so many decisions are based on unions, and the teachers union and other public employee unions control the legislature, and they want their salary increases and they will get them. I love teachers. We love teachers. We just want, things have to get back into control. And I don't know where that's going to be. You know, the ballot measure on Prop 15 talks about it's all for education. Well, the teachers say it's for their salaries. There'll be a lot of tough choices. You know, it is. I come out of the manufacturing world. Cutting costs are a way of life. That's where there has never been a zero-based budgeting approach in Sacramento, probably in 50 years. Start from zero and then build from there. Everything is just layering on the current level of spending. There needs to be some different approaches to managing fiscal issues in Sacramento. I'm not saying I'm going to get them, but I'm certainly going to talk about them. John Morrock and I will talk 24/7 on these issues of being responsible fiscally.
Oh, for sure. Okay, great. Jim Klingler, one of our Pacific Club guys, what do you recommend about homeless problem in Orange County? I mean, there's no doubt that homeless has become near the top of most issues in all cities in California and around this country. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you, Jim. It's a very important question. I don't have the silver bullet. It's really a regional issue. And I think now, after 2 years almost of dealing with homelessness in our communities, cities are joining together. We hope the city of Newport Beach and Costa Mesa have been talking, for example, for the last year. I hope we coming close to creating the physical structure for a temporary shelter up in the airport area. And working with Costa Mesa, the regional solution is the right solution. Huntington Beach is doing that as well. The county is in the process of building, I think it's called a Be Well, Stay Well medical and mental health facility. So there would be an intake center for people who are homeless and have mental illness issues, which is really the missing link in all of our homeless issues, is dealing with the ancillary care that many of the homeless need, from drug addiction to mental health issues. So that's going to be, maybe we're about a year and a half away, 18 months away from that. So one city at a time is dealing with it. In the meantime, I know City of Newport Beach, while we our counts were like 60. We got them down to 20 with some active working with the care agencies in the county and the room key program from the state to place homeless into the hotels. But our numbers are going back up again. We're just managing it. I think for Newport Beach, our Costa Mesa Newport Beach Alliance is going to be really important. Laguna Beach has a good program now. Their numbers are low because they've had a temporary shelter now for many years, and Huntington Beach is working on one. So, and Irvine really doesn't have a problem. So it's the coastal cities, and I think we're 6 months away from really having the infrastructure in place to deal with homelessness in our communities.
Understood. Okay. Diane, I see you're back on. Was that a comment, question about Joe Biden? She's Diane Cannon's talking about Social Security raising and the Social Security.
Who's that? Who's asking? Oh,
Hi,
Diane.
it's me. I just read yesterday that he wants to raise the Social Security tax on the earners above 400,000.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just another tax increase
Mm-hmm.
and driving, the wealthy people to Arizona.
Yeah, well, that's where they see. That's
Including
where.
Arizona blue.
I don't think so. It's not
Yeah,
gonna
that's
happen.
where. I mean, that's where he's going to get the money is just raising the income level, the cutoff. They're removing the cutoff. I think he really wants to remove the cutoff on Social Security, so it's unlimited. That just taxes you. It used to be. I remember. Like the first week in May used to be, okay, we're done with Social Security, and everybody's paycheck would be a little bit higher because you didn't have that deduction. Now it's going to be we'll go through the whole year. And that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. The Wall Street, I don't know if how many people saw yesterday or the day before's yesterday's Wall Street Journal lead editorial. I was virtually the whole page about the Biden tax plan and how devastating it will be for income, for business, for corporate tax rates, for investment, for global positioning. Companies, corporations, U.S. corporations will be non-competitive again. We have the highest corporate tax rate of the major producing countries of the world, and we'll be right back up there again if they have their way. It's concerning.
Yeah, no question. Anything else, Diane?
Diane, one of the things I emailed you on was yesterday, I was at the market and watched a mother with her son who was dressed in a uniform. And I asked them if they were in school, and they've been in school for quite a while, full time, with no issues in a private system. I think that if anything, that type of information needs to get out to the disenfranchised families, because they're the ones that are suffering. They have to go to work. They can't afford tutors. Their kids are spending a year of just being a mess.
It's terrible. And you know what my belief is, and this is my personal opinion, I think it's all political.
Absolutely.
It's just my uninformed opinion that there's no reason, when you see what's happening in other states. In fact, I just saw a headline this morning that California we're missing this next resurgence. We can open our businesses. It's our small business. It's our children. It's devastating. And everybody, we're sitting here helpless. I even talked to moderate Democrats who don't like the fact that Governor Newsom makes all the decisions. The legislature has been cut out of all this decision making, and you can't challenge it. It's an executive order. And that's just part of how the Constitution gives the governor power to declare an emergency through executive order. And then he or she, in the case, I guess, the governor makes all the rules. So yes, it's absolutely horrendous. Now the private schools are back. I don't know if this is happening. I've read this and I hear this in other communities that families are forming pods. Have you heard about this? Education pods, and they're actually hiring teachers who are no longer working as the teachers for this collection of children in their own homes, and they're creating their own little mini schools and are feeling very satisfied that their kids are getting a better education that way.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, that's middle class though. It's still middle class people.
Well, you're right.
It isn't the low end. And if they want to get some of these independent voters that the Democrats are continuing to siphon, they need to let them know that these other private schools are open, and that the governor is controlling not opening the schools, and they need to start harassing him.
And you know what else I didn't mention earlier? Usually I talk about the unemployed people. They're not even able to get paid unemployment because this computer system doesn't function. I mean, there's 6 months of delay in paying unemployment benefits to these people. It's just so sad. It's heartbreaking. So I believe me, I will do whatever's in my power to have a different. The bully pulpit is practically the only power I have, and I will use it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Diane Cannon. Appreciate the question and comments. Does anyone else have any other comments or questions? I'll give you a final question unless somebody, oh, Bernie's got a question. You want to unmute yourself, Bernie?
Diane, as you know, 100% for you. And one of the concerns I had that you might have answered was that the Democrat in the primary had 76,000 votes, and the two Republicans, you and one of your Republican opponents, had near 70,000, 6,000 difference. So it's important or glad to hear maybe that the independent might be the difference. I don't see that on the primary. So how does that look? Pretty good. Now you mentioned that the independents, because it looks like the Republicans were around 6,000 short in the primary.
That's it. You got it. That's why I've been walking every independent part of our district. And yeah, that's the target. I mean, I have to go 100% of the Republicans and about 7 or 8 or 9,000 just to be safe on the independent side. Absolutely. And I feel it's doable because the independents largely are former Republicans that were disenchanted, whatever, and they can come back on the issues that I support: fiscal responsibility, public safety, education, competition in education, and saving our neighborhoods and our communities. That resonates with every independent person I'm talking to. It's a very good question, Bernie. I need to translate that into 7,000 votes. So anybody you know who's an NPP, no party preference, tell them, number one, to vote and vote for Diane Dixon. That's really critical.
Glad to hear that there is a way to offset that difference. That's great.
Yeah, but you know what? There's no party of independents. And so you just have, you could target mail them and you could knock on their doors. And that's what I do. I do want to say, I thank many of you too. Bernie, you reminded me because you've been a generous supporter. I have outraised every Republican candidate challenger in California, and I've outraised every Republican candidate save one. And our incumbents are in tough re-election races, so it's really been hard. But I'm very grateful to be a candidate out of Newport Beach and this coastal district, many great supporters. In fact, my last fundraiser is tonight in Huntington Beach. And I couldn't be here. I think I've raised almost $900,000 in the last 18 months. My opponent, not to be too comfortable, she's raised over $3 million from union donations. So she's clearly outraising and outspending me, but we are leaner, faster, smarter, and we have the right message, we have the right platform, and we can win this race. So thank you, Bernie.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bernie. Jim's got a question. He says, California's focused on solar and wind as alternatives to fossil fuels. What do you think about gas and nuclear as fuel sources for the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just crazy to say 2030 that we're going to not have fuel injection motor cars. I mean, that's just craziness. And also, I mean, just think of all the ancillary industries and other products that come out of the oil-based fossil fuel industry. I mean, from cosmetics to pharmaceuticals to things we consume and eat. I mean, it's just nuts. Anyway, I will be fighting that. And what I have learned just in my campaign, just focusing on energy sources, because I've talked to the SEMPRA people, Southern California Gas, or the Natural Gas Corporation, that they are, because it's fossil fuels, fracking, or what have you, they are the target from the Democrats. The targets want to get rid of natural gas in California as a fuel source. It's all electric, is really. And I mean, I think Southern California is in a great company. However, we need multiple, and we need renewables, absolutely. But what the state has done is push so much capital. It required the PUC has required so much capital investment in renewables that we have compromised, even that's why we have the fires and the brownouts. We've compromised our infrastructure, our power infrastructure. So nuclear, interestingly, nuclear is certainly a viable European energy source. I don't know if it could ever overcome the resistance. It's such an uninformed position to take. We have just cut out our valuable nuclear power source, and I think technology has changed over the last several decades. But I'm for any power source that's clean, efficient, low cost, and is a complement, a potpourri, if you will, of different energy sources. We have to be smart about this, but we cannot strangle our fossil fuel industries. That's just craziness.
Okay, good. I don't see any other questions or anything else in the chat. Why don't we end on something fun, Diane? Here you are. I don't know how many doors you've walked on, but I'm assuming a lot. You've gone into new communities and neighborhoods you probably haven't before. Have you found any new restaurants or anything that you've enjoyed?
I don't stop and eat, but I know that there are we do have lots of great restaurants, and I have enough trouble just eating at all the wonderful restaurants in Newport Beach. But I don't want to end on a sad note, but I do see a lot of open office spaces and retail spaces, and we got to get those filled up again. But let me just kind of say, beyond restaurants, we have wonderful communities that value safety and support their police. We support housing and people having affordable housing, but let's do it right and keep our communities growing strong. The best asset that we all have are high property values that can return the necessary resources to the cities to keep our communities growing safely, and provide the quality of life for all people. So we do have wonderful cities. In fact, it's been a pleasure walking through Huntington Beach and Irvine. I really hadn't spent much time. I spent driving time, but not walking time. And people all want the same thing. They want good government, and they want a good representative. And I'm the person to represent them. And it gives me pride and great honor to take the honor I've had in serving the people of Newport Beach and represent Newport Beach and our coastal cities in Sacramento. It would be the honor of a lifetime, and I look forward to it.
I love it. Well, on behalf of all of your fellow Pacific Club members, we are 100% behind you and support you, and can't wait to see you in Sacramento. We're going to miss you in Newport, but you've certainly done a lot. And on behalf of all of us, thank you for your community service and everything you've done for the city of Newport and our surrounding areas, and what you'll continue to do in Sacramento. So,
well, you're a good role model, Joe. Keep up all your good work, the Citizen of the Year. So that just speaks to your long list of activities. So maybe you'll be following me to Sacramento someday. All right.
I might keep working. I don't know.
All right.
But we need good people up there, and I appreciate your support. And thank you to everyone who joined us from the Pacific Club. I do want to thank Oscar for all his help putting this together, and then Bob Mosier for having the faith in me to take over the lead for this one. And we look forward. We're working on John Campbell and a few others for some election wrap-ups. But with that, hope to see you at the club when we reopen again next week. But we're excited to have all of you and look forward to it. So with that, we'll end a little bit early, but thank you, Diane. Good luck. And,
thank you all. I appreciate it. Go vote. Tell everybody to vote. All right. Take care. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you, Will. Thank you. Bye-bye.